Welcome to Feisty Chess, folks. Been paired on lead chess in 1510 with A123456 pretty high rated player. E4, C5. Alright, let's go for a Morra Gambit and see if our opponent accepts. They do. So, the usual plan here, get the knight to f3, the bishop to c4, castle. That's what we're going to be doing almost regardless of what black does here. Black has lots of options, but we have a system that usually works. Now, he might go for the Scandinavian, which is to play... Oh, okay. I've played against this on a game so far. Yeah, and I castle here, and in my previous game, black took on c3, giving up the bishop pair, just trying to trade off minor pieces. Black wants to get castled, so bringing the bishop out makes sense. Okay, let's see if I remember how the rest of this game went. Probably knight to e7, yep. Okay. I got options here. I could give my rook to b1 already. I could bring... that seems a little premature. That rook might want to come to the d file, or maybe even the c file, depending on what happens. Bishop could come to g5. Seems a natural place for it. Could also come to f4, where it would threaten to blockade on d6. That'd be a real problem for black, since he doesn't have a dark square bishop to oppose it. Bishop g5 might not do all that much, because black can just immediately castle. Another plan would be playing e5 immediately, and then reloading the bishop on this diagonal once black castles. Knight d4 is another idea. Usual plan in most Morras is queen e2. I got lots to think about here. I should probably just make a move, but trying to remember, I think, I'm just going by memory here, I think what Mark Esserman recommends in his book Mayhem and the Morra is queen c2 here. No, that's only before black captures. So black has captured. What to do here? Bishop f4 also prevents d6, but do I have d5 prevented? That's the question. If I go bishop f4, so I like the looks of that, d5, e takes, and he has too much support thanks to this knight and this queen. So I think I want to prevent an early d5 from black. I could go with the usual plan of queen e2 and rook d1. That seems a bit slow. I'll be able to get d5 in. e5 is another idea. Problem with this is he'll be able to attack d5, e5, once more with this move, and then yet again with this move. I can put my queen and my rook behind it. I can get a bishop behind it. Is there any other way I can prevent d5? Maybe I don't care that much about d5. I've got my two bishops, and I should just trust the compensation of the gambit. I think I'll just go with queen e2 and have the usual plan. Trust the gambit here. If he goes d5, so be it, I guess. I still have rook d1 in that case. I also just have bishop d3. And there's not a way for him to harass my bishop on that square. Okay, he just castles. So does rook d5, rook d1 stop this idea of d5? Let's go for it. It's a natural move, and we don't want to fall too far behind on time. Try queen to c7 to break the pin on that d pawn. So I got my 2 bishops, and I've also got black quite a bit behind in development. He's trying to hit c3. Don't know how much I care about c3 at this point. We might as well protect c3. It does a nice job of reining in this knight off of these squares. And we could also develop our bishop, our last piece, in doing so. Does that make the bishop too passive? Maybe I put it on d2 and then I'm opposing that queen? Could reposition my queen to try to defend this pawn. That seems to run into trouble though. Queen d3, does that make any sense? I'm going to put the bishop on the long diagonal. It's got to be pretty good there. I can always move my pawn out of the way. My rooks are connected. I'm completely developed. I got my 2 bishops eyeing black's kingside. The bishop on b2 could also enforce e5 a little bit later on. I'm thinking this bishop's going to want to come to b3. This rook maybe to b1. Alright, hopefully my opponent returns. Okay, here comes d5. Maybe the bishop just slides back. Make him spend the time of taking that pawn. I'll improve my queen if he does take. This bishop wants to come back anyway. And if I, yeah, I'll let him open up his bishop if I take. He has lots of he has a knight option as well. So let's just back up. We got our c pawn. We got our e pawn protected. After a trade here, queen takes, you might try queen f5 just to get the queens off the board, but I think I'm actually, if nothing else looks appealing, I'd be fine trading queens then. I do have my 2 bishops. I've got a weak queenside pawn formation over here, but the 2 bishops are pretty big compensation, and his pawn majority is not nearly as effective when that pawn is doubled. And the center is wide open, so the bishops are going to be good in that kind of position. Yeah, there's a nice little rhyme, and it's not always true, obviously. To take is a mistake. I think I learned that from Igor Smirnov. To take is a mistake, meaning that before you make a trade, like for instance, pawn takes here, just realize that you might be helping improve your opponent's pieces. This would improve the knight. This would improve black's bishop by opening up that diagonal. So taking is often a mistake. Letting your opponent take and you recapturing, not always, but is often a good way to build up these small advantages. I just realized that after queen f5, if take, queen f5, he can recapture with a knight. So I probably wouldn't want to trade queens in that scenario. Although I still have a good lead in development. Okay, he's trying to develop that bishop on the long diagonal. C5 kind of force black to take here. We want to do that. Or maybe we want to slide bishop to c2, load up on that diagonal. I also have e5 as an option now. e5 presents itself as a good option to keep this center keep black's center pawns blocking his bishop. That does kind of shut down this diagonal from my bishop as well. Both of my bishops, honestly. So maybe that's not the right idea. Especially since he can still load up on that pawn. His queen is a little bit more awkward now. I don't see a way to capitalize on that. Now I know I probably don't want a rook on the b file. But maybe I can go with a rook lift. Ooh, that runs into the skewer. Okay, he's planning bishop a6. That would not be good. That wouldn't be a skewer, it would be a pin. And c4 might be met with bishop a6 too. So let's look at alternatives. Knight g5 is now much more precarious because e takes. Then I could recapture with a knight. Knight g5, h6, and I probably just have to go right back though. Queen e3, does that do anything useful? Would I like to get my knight any particular place? Let's move this queen to e3. Still got ideas maybe involving knight to g5. We can give him an isolated pawn on d5. Probably load some pressure onto that. I could even go rook d2 and then double rooks with the idea of putting pressure on this pawn and probably expecting the d file to open. I do have a direct line of sight on g7 here, so if I can get like queen to g5 in, then c4 might be effective. He's probably thinking about where he wants to put his bishop, b7 or a6. I think I would go with b7. might just go knight g5 next move and provoke him to kind of kick it away, especially if the bishop moves from this diagonal. He'd have to, once the bishop's no longer guarding this pawn, he'd have to meet knight g5 with h6, not f6. That means this diagonal is still going to be ripe for the bishop to hit g7. Let's look at a line here. Okay, bishop g7. Let's look at this. Knight, bishop b7, knight g5. Say he kicks it away immediately with h6. Knight h3. I've made a weakness on h6. Maybe knight g5 is a little bit premature. Maybe now is the time to get this bishop active on this diagonal. Start introducing some Greek gift themes. I like the look of that. Okay, let's do it. Greek gift meaning bishop takes h7 sacrifices, especially when the knight can come to g5 with a check, and the queen can slide along this rank. This bishop has abandoned this diagonal, so that makes h3 a lot more appealing for our queen. Okay, now it's time to consider this. E takes d5. If he goes e takes d5, actually knight takes d5 looks more natural. Let's consider that. Knight takes d5. What kind of trouble does this get me in? Bishop takes f7 check. I'm already down a pawn, so this puts me down a full piece. King takes knight g5. Is this premature? I've got a rook ready to lift. That helps. Knight g5. Probably king g8 is the wisest move. But he's not going to be able to protect h7. So queen h3. And he's got to slide over here to make room. Then maybe queen h5 to hit both of those points. c4 coming at some key moment. Maybe c4 needs to be played now. C4, and then my queen could come to d5 with a real attack on g7 with this bishop opened up. c4 takes c4, and he's got two big pawns here that are, so I better have something good. I gotta open this up first. The problem is he can recapture with a knight. Also, other ideas are a4 and then putting a bishop here to pin that knight, but that's too slow, and he can take care of that pin pretty easily. Queen g5 immediately. Might make sense. He could recapture with the rook. That might make the most sense. If I capture here, he recaptures with the rook. Also, maybe e5 makes sense here. Shutting this bishop down, but opening that one up. I gotta make some kind of move. Okay, let's try to cordon off the king side. I'm going to play e5. Now my c3 pawn is kind of an asset in stopping d4. But I'm just trying to open up this bishop without opening up his queenside pieces or activating these pieces he's got in the center. I've still got ideas of knight g5 and maybe queen h3. Or Greek gift ideas. Bishop takes h7 is now possible. This might scare my opponent into playing something like g6, which looks positionally really bad for him. Okay. Maybe I can plant a bishop on d6. Does that look like a silly idea? a4, bishop a3, bishop d6. I can just play h4 here and threaten to come after that knight. And he's got to do something about it. That also gives my king some left, so it's at least a two-purpose move. If he goes h5, I've got queen g5, and that I'm getting my pawn back. Okay, he's looking to trade queens. Queen g5 seems to make sense here. He can't attack that pawn another time. And any h6 or f6 will just be provoking weaknesses. So yeah. Queen can come back to g3 and hold everything together. Yeah, I got a lot of pressure here. I like this. I could play queen to c4. I've got h5, h6 ideas that look very powerful here. Okay. Yep, queen g6 holds things together. Sorry, queen g3. I'm hoping after enough of this commentary, my squares will start correcting themselves. I often think from the black side when I'm white, or vice versa. Still, h5 is a powerful threat here. The only move he can stop it with is h5 himself, and that's just a load of weakness. I'm also threatening bishop takes g6, followed by queen takes g6. Then, oh, he has... Oh, hang on, he's... Okay, he's made a decisive move here. He's planned on this pin. But I think I've got bishop takes g6, and then d takes e4. He's counting on this pin here. If I push now, he takes with the knight. So let's go with the simple alternative. We'll give up one of our bishops. But then we've got d4 well supported here. And we're still eyeing this weakness on g6. I don't see anything he can really do about that. I guess king h7 makes sense. But I'm hitting his queen with this move. And he needs to strike back on my bishop, perhaps, with queen b5 or queen b4. But then rook b1 lines up some trouble against his queen. Maybe I sacrifice this bishop. It's not all that active. I can get queen takes g6, followed by queen e6 check. Grab a couple of pawns. I've got this enormous pawn center that I can start pushing actually immediately. His king looks relatively safe though. I'll just keep my threats alive. Might as well. There's no need to sacrifice that bishop. Yeah, this move makes plenty of sense. Got d4 well supported. I'm still on g6. If he plays king h7, as I think he's likely to do, I would consider h5, g5, and then I could consider sacrificing on g5 with check. Okay, he does have that. He does have that. It also unleashes his bishop on my knight. I'm looking at skewers along this diagonal here, grabbing that knight. Like, for instance, knight g5 makes that skewer a possibility and also threatens this fork. I might be hanging d4 out to dry. But he's going to grab my knight, so that knight needs to go somewhere, doesn't it? Yeah, why not here? Got to do it. Got to do it. Getting low on time. It's pretty feisty. My knight might need to come to h3 if nothing better presents itself. See, he just needs to defend e6. I am threatening a fork on e6 here. A pawn and a fork, you can see. So, how does he defend e6? Maybe bishop d5? But then I've got my skewer. I think he needs to take the knight. But once I have my skewer, I'm also forking. I just noticed this now. Queen goes somewhere, and I grab the knight, and I'm going to win the exchange, it looks like. Aha. A clever move. I need to stay on the third rank to keep that skewer alive, don't I? Or what if I just play bishop a6, a3 now? Knight takes here. Bishop takes. I'm on his rook and his knight. He has a check to get out of trouble. Then I've got king f1 to stay on the knight, but then he's got bishop a6. I've got to do it. I've got not much other time here. Key is I'll still be on that rook on f8 at the end of those lines. Actually, after... Yeah, this is a lot to calculate in this little amount of time. I'm pretty sure he needs to take. Well, he's got queen takes b1, doesn't he? That might be a real problem. Okay, he didn't see that. I've got to take now, no question. Knight e2 check. The question is what to do then. I'm going down material unless I play king f1. Okay, king f1, expecting bishop a6. But then I think I just take on e6 with a knight. He may just take on d4 with his knight. Material's even for the moment, somehow. Am I down a pawn? No. He does have knight back to g3 check, doesn't he? Or that. Strange move. Okay. He's just... I'm pretty sure this just wins me the exchange, though. Because I take on f8. I had two ways to win an exchange there. I'm going to use that one. Now, where does my knight go? Is it safe on f3? It's not safe on f3. Knight takes here. h3 might be better. But then he's... No, it's not safe there either. Alright, I'm going for this. This pawn looks actually pretty important. And I'm going to have my pawn roller going. I got two rooks for the piece, but I got the big pawn roller. Sorry, I got a rook for two pieces. If he tries to go for bishop takes g1 here, that's a blunder. I go bishop takes g2. I go king g1. Yeah. Okay, let's get these bad boys rolling. Yeah, I don't care about these kingside pawns. The whole game is in these pawns. Now I'm actually threatening like a rook to come to the fourth rank. I think he's lost some time in this maneuver. He's got a fork. He's got forks now. Careful. Let's take over the open file. He's got my pawn blockaded. think I need to be too afraid of things here. Famous last words, though. He's got mating patterns if I go to f1. So if he checks on g4, I need to go to h2. And his knight shouldn't be able to get in. Ooh, that's an immediate mating pattern. Oofta. I did not see that. Alright. I saw the check first. Well, I'm out of time. So, great game. A1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. I feel like I had a win there somewhere. Let's see. Yeah, that was a big threat. I needed to come to h2 immediately. But even then, he's got a... Well, no. Look at the analysis board. I'm going to shut the computer off as soon as I can here. King h2. He can take the pawn. Then I come here, and he's got to come back there to keep everything together. And yeah, now I can get rolling. I suppose he can bring things back. This actually looks good for me if we trade a pair of rooks. He can't take, actually. He's just got to get his bishop safe. Yeah, it's unclear where the best spot for the bishop is. Probably here. I take. He has to take with the king. Yeah, now I just got rook here. And that should be winning, right? The bishop has to move, and then I promote, and I'm going to win one of those pieces. That's still a game. It's still a game. The bishop, for instance, can take this pawn. Now, yeah, this is definitely a game. Yeah, it's not clear how I hang on to my pawns to try to win this. Or stop his pawns. I think he's got the winning chances. He's up 3 pawns for that exchange, and they're all looking kind of dangerous. But that would have been better than what happened in the game, for sure. So let's start from the beginning. Morra Gambit. Yeah, it's funny, I had a game go just like this, and I don't remember how I played that. I'll have to look at that again. I think I played Queen E2. Maybe my opponent didn't play Knight E7 here. I felt good about this opening. Let's see what the computer recommends. Going back some here. Okay. Oh, Queen D6. Just using the queen for that blockade. Bishop A6 is A3 is another idea. But that's the simplest way to prevent D5, isn't it? Queen D6. It likes black, but it recommends that move anyway. How about this? No, Queen A5, and we gotta find ways to protect that. And now Queen D6 can be met by Knight F5. Or Queen takes C3. So yeah, A5, no, Queen E2 was not bad. No mistake there. It likes Bishop A3. Pin that knight. D5. E takes. And now pawn has to take. Bishop D3. Rook to E8. This knight is pinned a different way now. Bishop f5 unpins it. Okay. A little more open to the game. Maybe I should have, obeyed the strategic principles here of opening the game for my two bishops. E takes d5 instead of pushing d5. Bishop b2, okay. Doesn't like d5 all that much for black. Bishop d3 instead of b3. I like the fact that my bishop protected this pawn, and I could move this rook. That pawn's maybe not a major consideration here, with all the activity that's likely to come about on the king side. Well, it likes bishop b3. Okay, d takes e4. b6 it does not like. Now e takes d5. And then e takes d5. Now his bishop is open, but he's also spent a tempo to open it over here. And that's something gained. Rook e1. Not quite understanding the point of that move. Maybe my other rook just wants to come to d1. Bishop c2 is another idea here. But it likes rook e1 first better. What is the point of that? Bishop e6. And I'm not threatening to take these knights. What if black doesn't block the file, but instead goes here? c4. Or black could come here. Queen e3. It's more to the game. Okay. Queen e3. Does not like queen e3. I'm just trying to sidestep the bishop a6 idea. Maybe his bishop is misplaced on a6. Maybe that's not a concern. E takes d5 now. It still likes e takes d5, but it still gives black an advantage now. Okay, yeah, the computer, once I close the position up, the computer says, okay, the bishop pair isn't worth that much anymore, and I've lost that half pawn advantage in one move. It does like the a4 idea, so I can play bishop a3. I thought I had a really strong initiative at this point. Oh, but it likes black. h6. Queen to c1, not queen to g3. d4. Really? Bishop takes g6? I'm gaining my pawn back. Computer's kind of all over the place here. But I've gained my pawn back, but black has a pawn's worth on the evaluation. Yeah, rook a to b1. Knight e7. Maybe I should have gone for h5 here. Just putting extra pressure on this. No, bishop takes f3. I needed to watch out for that. I was right to watch out for that. It likes knight to e1. That seems like a sad knight move to have to make in the Morra Gambit. What does it think of my wild idea? Doesn't like it too much. Yeah, knight f5 is the refutation. So it was well played by my opponent. While I'm thinking of it. Do this real quick, get that thing going. Ooh, it doesn't like this at all. Yeah, because queen takes b1. My opponent did not find that, but that wins the exchange. I can grab the queen, but now he gets one just for the knight. Actually, this wins a... What does this end up winning? A piece in the end. Yeah. He didn't see that though. Oh, and now I'm back in the game more than I ever have been. Bishop takes b4, king f1, bishop takes f8. Okay, this is how it went. Rook takes f8, knight f3 instead of this. Okay, I didn't like this. d5, huh? Really? Now we start pushing our pawns. What if just bishop takes? Rook takes. And now we take, and we're up a piece. Okay, I couldn't see all that. So d5, knight has to come back to f4. And I can't play d6 because my knight still hangs. Knight to e1 yet. It's just very sad to have to play that. I like the line I chose better. Knight takes e6. I at least have some activity here. Doesn't like pushing immediately. f6. Strengthens things on the king side. Kind of settles in for the long haul, letting him blockade, say like with a knight on d5. But I went for it with d5. Likes e6 better than d6. Doesn't that just give away a pawn? Rook e1, he gets it blockaded. Keep the pawns, man. But now bishop takes g2. Bishop h3 is strong. Yeah, rook e1. There's no other place to avoid a fork. Here and here are both getting forked by knight e2. I suppose I could consider d2 with the rook. But I found rook e1. Knight blockades. Rook b3. Hitting the bishop might have been a better idea. And I can play two rooks to hit the bishop if needed. Rook f4. Rook a3. How does rook a3? Oh, because we're still on the bishop. You know, the rook can't take over here without losing that bishop. I'm just hanging on to these pawns, but black is still better. He can get his king pretty quickly over to blockade the pawns. What about this? This seems to make sense. And bishop d5. Okay, fine, but now you don't have all those mate threats. Well, you do. But now f3. And he has time to save this a pawn. Yeah, the rooks are kind of awkward when there's two of them. I'd like to trade rooks, because one rook against lone bishop and knight is stronger than two rooks against bishop, knight, and rook. Okay. But yeah, low time. I just missed. I looked at rook takes, and I thought I've got rook g4, and I thought I got king h2, but I didn't look at the immediate rook h4, which just wins on the spot. Mate in 4. Here's the 4. This. 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 And then whatever move you like. And it's mate. Okay. Well played game by my opponent. A1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. So, thanks for the game, and thanks for watching, folks. I may have lost this, but I played it in a style I'm proud of. Played it with some feisty tactics. So, stay feisty. See you next time.